Hi, everybody. It's been a while, but we're back, and it's Charles Burns with the Burning Desire Show podcast. And today is Klaudia Slosarova that we have with us, and I'm very happy to say so. I came across Klaudia on LinkedIn because I think Claudia commented on something that I'd seen, and then I saw her LinkedIn banner, which we'll come to in a minute, which was just amazing. And it caught my eye, and then I thought I have to speak to this person because it's really, really interesting. But as per usual, before we get to the meat of the conversation, I like to have an understanding as to how the person got to where they are now. Where did you grow up? I presume it's Polish, your background.
Close, Slovak.
Slovak. So you grew
Yeah,
up there, or where did you grow up?
yeah. So, thanks, Charles, for a lovely introduction, and hi, everyone. Basically, long story short, I am from Slovakia, but I've been living in Ireland in Cork for the past 18 years.
Wow.
And after I finished my living cert in Slovakia, that's when I met my current partner that I'm with, and we just decided let's go to Ireland. You go to college there, and yeah, and 18 years later, and I'm still here, and I
So
love
you,
it.
so you did it. What made you choose Ireland out of curiosity?
Him, my
Oh,
partner.
he's
So
from
basically,
Ireland,
he's
or
from Ireland. Yes, he's from Kerry. Yeah. So
ah,
yeah. So basically, before we met, I was just traveling in Ireland. I just wanted to see the countryside, and we met and we stayed in touch. It was way before Facebook, all social media and
nice,
all that. So
nice.
it was love letters, and it
Oh,
was just
amazing.
phone booth. Yeah, very. Yeah, I should maybe consider writing a book about this.
That's
So
cool.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then I looked at the education, and you were in like hospitality and HR, on two different time frames, but you
Oh,
studied.
yes. So I was very young at that age. I didn't know what to do. I just knew I wanted to get a degree. So I decided to do hospitality management to please my mom. And
Yeah,
I
a lot
had
of us
big,
do that at that kind of age,
oh,
to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. And I actually thought it would be quite difficult at the start because, English is my second language. But I ended up, getting distinction, and I was awarded best student of the department as well. So
Awesome.
I just work very hard. So I think that's where it starts. Whatever I do, I take very seriously, and I just put a lot of effort in. And then I realized that hospitality was not for me because as I started working in the hotels, I was like, nah, this is not for me, antisocial life. And I just was like, I'm a very family oriented person. So I
Okay.
was like, let's do HR because I saw how many opportunities were there to improve all about employee happiness, satisfaction, all that. So I just went into HR, but that died very fast because I was like, nah, something's missing here, that's just not for me. So, and then I just decided to continue the 9 to 5 corporate life. And I was working for Eli Lilly pharmaceutical company. And that was fabulous experience. I learned so much there. But I just decided to share my passion, which was actually helping ambitious men save their marriage, because that's what I'm good at, and that's what I really want to do, because there is so many marriages or long-term relationships that can be fixed and should be fixed, but there people are just lost. They don't have the roadmap, the strategy, they don't know what to do, and that's where I can.
Okay, so just reversing a second, there's something that you mentioned or not mentioned in passing, but by the way you're talking, which I think particularly it's actually applicable to anybody. So to be honest with you, but maybe very much so the younger people, which is it's more than okay to not be happy with your current circumstances or your current job, more to the point, and to change and do different things like. You might have parents or other people around you saying, no, stick at it. You need to have a CV where you've worked someone for 5 years, 10 years. Like, in my personal opinion, like if you're not happy day to day, it's a Steve Jobs quote. If you look in the mirror 2 days, and hey, you don't know what you see, you got to make a change, and that is key. And the fact that you went into something thinking, all right, like you mentioned to me as well that you started doing something because your mother or your parents wanted to do something. We all do that, I think, at that kind of age. We're almost too young, I think, to make the decision that may or may not affect other things going forward, whether it be a degree or just before in the English system, schooling system. But the point is, just because you're in a job and you're not enjoying it, and it might be the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth role, it's not that something's wrong with you. You just need to keep scratching that itch and keep going and keep going. And eventually, and it sounds when you're sat where you and I are, where we're both loving what we're doing and it's not like work anymore.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's annoying to people because it's like, oh, it's good for you. You're lucky you found what you want to do. But they don't realize all the pain and struggle we went through to get to this point. Because most people just go, all right, like maybe it's just me. I'll just settle for whatever it is. But people like you and I, where it sounds like are aligned in respects of like won't settle until we find something we're super passionate about. We can put all the energy that we have into, and we can actually make a difference to people's lives in whatever way that might be. So
100%.
so you go from the pharmaceutical, like training people, and I'm sure that was that from an experience side point of view, like you're learning about the psychology of people, plus also hospitality. I'm a huge advocate. Retail hospitality should be, in my opinion, something that every single person does for 2, 3, 4 years when they're 16, 17, 18. Like, in the UK, we used to have what was called national conscription. So, people used to go into the army for 2 years, and it would really kind of instill discipline and structure in these things. Maybe that's not appropriate anymore, but I think retail hospitality is, because you're dealing with people, you're having to serve. And that's the key thing I always say to people. If you're trying to look just to make money, people see past that. If you dedicate yourself to serving people in some way, so with you, it's, say, marriage, for me, it's potentially helping them pick the right watch or sell a watch or make some money on a watch, or I do some stuff as well, but let's just go with that for the minute. Like, I look at my business as the best service, period. And no one will beat me on service. You can always beat me on price. There's always someone willing to make a bit less, do something else, but no one will beat me on service. And that's what I think you learn the most in retail hospitality, because you are at the cold face. You have people who are really pissed off, that have it, you've got to figure out, how do I deal with this situation? How do I turn this situation from a really negative, this has happened, that's happened, whatever it is, to something positive, or at least solving problems. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, that was great. Absolutely.
So you go from being training pharmaceutical, and again, you're working with people and psychology and all these things. And was that aspect interesting to you always? How people function?
Yes, you see, the difference between the hospitality and what I was doing, the training and development learning in Eli Lilly, was there was different level of people. I was actually training like directors and really, upper management. So it was very different, and it was for me where I had to actually learn different skills because, imagine being in a room, full of people, meaning, and you feel like all eyes on you, and you had to like deliver the training and deliver the results, making sure that everyone got it, because it's different level of communication, it's different level of language. So that's what I started to learn. It's really important how the message is delivered, making sure that they understand. Obviously I understand my stuff, but I need to deliver it in the way that they get it, and it had to be their language. So that's where my understanding and psychology and passion for it started to develop even more.
This is a slight segue. We'll come to it in a second, but I'm sure that's probably quite relevant. But carry on.
Yeah, and I was, that's where I started to be like, okay, it's actually not about what I think or believe. It's about, making sure that they understand it. And that's where I started to shift perspectives and looking at things differently. And, because it's really, I already know what I know. It's all about what I don't know. It's all about what else I can learn. And that's what Eli Lilly gave me, that I could actually understand that, oh, this is different audience and this is a different perspective, different mindset. So that's where I was like, I like this. And I got some feedback, I learned from this, I am a big believer of refinement. If something you try doesn't work, doesn't mean to quit. This is the worst thing you can do. We are supposed to fail, because how will you learn? So you just take the feedback and keep refining until you are happy with it. But to be honest, even in today in my job, I I still refine everything. I try to improve, whether to deliver results faster for my clients, whether to improve on my own, skills, because I learn from clients as well. So it's a win-win and double thank you.
Mm-hmm. On that topic, you wrote something in your LinkedIn kind of blurb, I guess, or CV, where you say coaching is 20% knowledge, 40% preparation, and 40% communication. Can you explain
Yes,
that?
of course. So the communication part is really the most difficult one, and that's why it has the highest percentage, because you see what there is lots of misunderstandings about what communication is and the way we communicate. You see, there is, you as a communicator, it's your responsibility to deliver the message. So what that means is that if you are trying to explain red triangle, it's your job that the other side receives red triangle, not red square or blue triangle. And that's where really you need to nail it down. And this is very, this is in essence in any communication, whether you are in conflict or whether you are having communication like we are having right now, that we are trying to just put our thoughts across. I need to understand that what I'm saying is clear to you and vice versa. Otherwise, misunderstanding happens, and possibly disagreement, etc. Which disagreements are not bad, of course, but it's about, and having the right ideas about what communication is, and how to deliver it, because it's all about the message delivery and tonality. It's like in sales, when you are on a sales call or dealing with, prospects, the communication is the most important part, but it's not the part where you talk, it's the part when you listen. It's the part when you actually need to dig deep and help the potential prospect, overcome their limiting beliefs, help them actually dig deep and face their fear as well, and just, be challenging for them in a way that you are actually empathizing with them, trying to get them see what's possible and what's not.
I can't remember exactly the figures, but even within communication, it breaks down to the actual words you're saying are worth X, quite a small percentage. The way you say them is a larger percentage. And I think the biggest percentage is actually like your body language.
Body language and face language. That's the key. And this is the most important, because words are forgotten very fast. It's like it represents like 10% only what you are gonna remember, or other people, it's the body language. In long story short, if your body language, which is your subconscious mind, if you have any disagreements, whatever you are speaking, and if your words don't match what your subconscious says, it will show. My body language will be completely different to what I speak, to words I use. And this is proven, this is science, this is how we work. So if I was scared and not feeling well, my body language would show it. I would probably be, like this, or like sitting like that. And this is something you don't realize, this is subconscious. But if you sit, confidently, if you come from a place of confidence, it shows. And confidence is attractive, and that's exactly what I work with clients as well, which is they need to have the confidence, because when they are going through like really, really difficult times, like marriage hell, they're lacking confidence because they are trying million ways to fix things and nothing works. All they do is they keep pushing wives away, and they are like lost and not confident. So they're like, what the hell, what am I supposed to do, so that's why, body language and face language is the most important thing. Because to be honest, I mean, who likes would you ever want back a desperate person? Imagine you are, in a relationship, and you are having second thoughts, or you are like, I'm done, I want to leave, and you can see that your partner is trying to save relationship, but it comes from a place of, desperate intention, neediness. Would you want to be with that person? It was like, probably not, right?
Sure.
So it needs to be done the right way, which is the confidence.
I always talk about that in business is exactly the same, because if you're constantly, and I don't like the word, but I'll use it because it's relevant for this, it makes sense. But if you're chasing deals and you're in sales and you're trying to hit a quarter, or you're struggling, whatever, that I can guarantee you the person that you are selling to can sense that. And they're like, this person's trying to push this on me. Is it because the product they're selling is not good enough? Is it because
Yep.
they're going to have doubts? But if you're in a position, you could something might call it a flow state or something, where you know what service you deliver is the best. You know, whatever price you're charging is fair and reasonable, and you're confident in what your abilities. The right people gravitate towards you, and it can take decades to really understand that properly.
Yeah, you see, like I fully understand. Like you see, sales is actually relationship mastery,
Without a doubt.
if you think about it. And if you, Alex Harmozy says, it's not, which quote I love, he says, it's not, he says, I don't need you, you need me. And if you have this mindset, I know it might sound arrogant, but it's not. Think about it. Because if you are like, I don't need you, that means you are coming from a place that, you know, you are confident. You are okay if you don't close. You are okay if, you know, if you just want to try client, you know, you're okay. And
oh, no, Karen, sorry, Karen, I apologize.
no, that's fine. And if it's the other way around, that when you are like, oh my God, I need this sale, I need to close, what am I saying? I need this. I am desperate. I am needy. And everyone senses it. That's when you are trying to talk a lot. You are talking nonsense. You're trying to pitch, convince, and no one wants to be convinced. That's the difference between sales as well. A great salesperson and average, you know, great salesperson influences, you know, and average salesperson tries to convince. You try to convince me.
That's a great way of putting it. I like that a lot.
And when you try to, you know, convince anyone, I mean, you are never gonna to take it or do it. Just it's like when you are maybe young and when parents try to get you to do something. Oh, you have to do this. This is whatever good for you. I mean, what your reaction was like? Nah, I'm not doing that, you know, because no one likes to be told what to do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So convincing is the worst part, you know. So yeah, I always even tell my clients, you know, if you want to improve in sales, don't study sales, study people, because that's the most important thing. Because sales is about relationship. I can give you the cheat sheet, I can give you the script, everything you want, but unless you master this, unless you get the right mindset, all the cheat codes and all that is pointless, because you will come across needy, and no one likes to be sold to unless it's done the right way. So
no, it's very, very good. I like that a lot. So my question then, which I'm sure most people are thinking about, is so you spent what's about 5 years or so in pharmaceutical training.
yes.
Like that. And then somehow, which is a complete step change in September 2020, for what I understand. Did you start this company or you joined a company that does this? Like, explain to me what happened.
Yeah. What happened was my own relationship was deteriorating very fast.
With the fellow that you moved to Ireland with.
I'm sorry?
With this fellow that you moved to Ireland with, the same.
Yes, the same. His name is Martin. Yeah, we are still together. Yeah. So what happened was during that time when I was at Lilly, my personal relationship was struggling and we were going through relationship hell. And what happened was I left him and it crushed us both. We were together for 12 years.
Wow.
And it was really hard. Yeah. You know, and he really wanted to get me back, and which he did, which is fantastic. But he was doing all the wrong things. He was trying to, you know, recreate the good times. He was trying to, you know, convince me or, you know, that this is what we have to do. And this is the things where he was coming across quite needy. And this is exactly what, you know, lots of men do as well when they're trying
so at that point, so when you've broken things off and then he's trying to win you back, I guess did you break it off or was it a mutual thing? Just to understand.
No, there is never a mutual thing. Well, if it doesn't exist, it's always one person, you know, it's just a nicer way of, you know.
So presumably it was your decision, right? By the sound.
It was. Yes, it was.
And then he decides
the hardest decision.
Right. And then he decides that I want to win Klaudia back, right? So what was he doing? specifics, but like that was coming across as needy, because that's probably interesting.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely. Yeah. So what he was doing was, first of all, he had
sorry,
this all.
Martin.
It's all right. He, it's fine. He first of all he had this attitude all or nothing. So he was like, oh shoot, I messed up. He realized that, he was like,
Right.
okay, something's not right. And he was like, it's okay, I'll just recreate the good times that we used to have. I will do the things that I know she likes. I will give her the things she likes. That didn't work. That actually backfired. He
Is
was
that in terms of like taking you to dinners or buying you things, or like what does that mean?
You see, what you have to realize is at that point, even before I left him, it's like our roles switched. I was stone cold, emotionless. I
Right,
didn't care, and he
right.
became very emotional, which was very new to him. He is like the most logical person you'll ever meet.
Very interesting.
He couldn't cope with this emotional roller coaster, number
Wow,
one,
wow.
because everything he tried backfired, meaning all the Disney inspired gestures, all the dinners he tried. He would even write a poem. Every time he would
Wow.
apologize, to me, I actually told him it's too late.
And
Every
how long
time
was this
he
period of time? Like how long are we talking in time frame?
uh time frame from when he was trying to win me back until we reconciled.
Yes.
Yeah, that was, hold on, about 8 months.
Wow, it's a long time.
Mhm. It is a long time, but you see, that's the part. He didn't have any strategy. He didn't have any roadmap. He was doing whatever his instincts were telling
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
But you
yeah,
see, his instincts got him where he was in the first place. So
yeah.
you don't listen to your instinct. That's the problem. You see, he was trying to approach it very logically. All he was thinking was, all I have to do is get her to talk to me.
Right,
Tell me what the problem is, I'll fix it. But this
right.
is the worst mindset you can have. This is the worst approach you can have, because you cannot fix emotional problem with the logical solution.
Very
You
true.
cannot. You cannot.
So
So
it's just on that point, it's interesting you raise that, because one of the only things, no, that's not true, but one of the things that stuck with me from my time at Tesco, we did some management training. You know, Tesco, the supermarket, right? So just people that they listen or watch internationally, it's like Walmart or whatever, just standard supermarket chain. One of the things they taught you in the management side was there's two types of people, or there's certainly two types of ways of people being, right? And one is emotionally fueled and one is logically fueled. And what they were showing you is like they gave a picture of, like, I don't know, let's use this bottle
mm,
analogy. If someone's emotionally fueled and their emotions right up here, like you don't want to give like a logical explanation is not going to help. You need to help
lower down.
lower down the emotional side. And
Yeah.
similarly, if someone's very, very logical and they're overthinking and analyzing whatever, the last thing you want to try and do is appeal to their emotions. They're not interested.
Exactly. You see,
So
but
I think
usually
that's where
what
you're going.
you are right. But you see, then the question is, how do you deal with a person who is completely checked out? Who
Yeah,
is, like, usually when you say emotional, people associate these tantrums or these, fighting spirits,
sure, sure.
but what do you do when it's the opposite, when it's completely avoiding everything, when you don't want to have the conversation, when you're like,
Were you in this mode where you were like, right, for whatever reason, and I don't want this to go into, it's not appropriate. I don't want this relationship anymore. I've moved on. I want to find somebody else. Was that basically where you're at as a thought process?
you see, back then my thought process was, the only solution I thought I saw was, we need to end it.
Yeah.
But I thought, that's the kicker. Back then I thought I had to end it because of him. But no, that was so wrong. I never wanted to leave him. I wanted to leave the pain I was in.
Oh, okay.
And that's a big difference, you see, but I didn't know it back then.
Right.
So because I wanted to leave the situation we have created, and he, unfortunately, with all his attempts, he just kept trying. He just kept pouring, oil into fire. It was just
Right.
terrible. So that's the difference, that even when, your partner says, I want to split up, I want to separate, I want to divorce,
Yeah.
this is never the cause. This is the effect. This is
Yeah.
these are the things that they just think that's what they want at that time, but they don't want to. Who wants to get divorced? I'm sorry, but who wants to get divorced? I mean, yes, it's very popular. A lot of people get
I
divorced,
did it.
but
I'll be honest, I've done it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But you see, but it's not the last resort. That's the
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
sometimes you feel so trapped and you don't know what to do. You're like, divorce is the only
I think that's
option.
that's a fair point, and I think most people we speak to who are thinking or going through breakups, divorces, whatever you want to call it, separations of any situation, whether it be business wise or any sort of relationship, friends, or whatever. It normally is, yeah. They feel trapped. They the circumstances that they're in, they're uncomfortable with, and
Yep.
they just want out, and whatever out is the fastest possible way. Like, and of course, I think you're probably going to go down this road. I think where we've now been conditioned that divorce is okay and it's fast and it's simple and don't worry about it. Like everyone does it. Whereas, like, I remember I'm doing my grandfather's memoir, right? He's 89 years old, and he was telling me his mother got divorced in talking probably the 40s, 1940s. And I'm also from the Jewish background. It was very rare in the 1950s. It was extremely rare in the Jewish world to get divorced. And it was like almost like looked so badly down upon back then that it was like extremely unusual. The reason I bring it up is now, if you haven't been divorced, it's unusual. Most people
Yeah.
will tell you they have been divorced, and it's kind of normal. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's good or bad, but just a little kind of segue.
Yeah, no. Look, these are different times. Times have changed. Obviously it was different back then. It was different now as well. It's like, you see, women, actually, I read somewhere that women represent about 86% of, times that they initiate divorce. Basically, men do it on like 14% initiate divorce, and
Wow.
women are a vast majority. And
Wow.
you see that what a lot of people don't realize is that back then, women, you were living in a society where a woman would stay at home. She
Very
didn't have to
true.
work, so it was different. So back then, for men, it was like, okay, I will provide, I will give her security,
Yeah.
roof
Yeah.
overhead, all this stuff. But these days, woman can get it by herself.
Yeah.
She works, she has her own money, so protection, security, this is all
Yeah.
nice, but
Yeah.
it's not must have. This is not why she's gonna stay with you. My Martin, he had great business. He still does. He was financially doing very well. He gave me things that I were nice to have. I mean, we women, we would never trade down. We would only trade up, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's just the way we are. It's just the way we are wired. However, they are nice to have. So according to Maslow hierarchy of needs, it's
Yes.
changed. Now it's all about, because I can get it myself. I can get, a roof over my head. I
Yes.
make my own money. So what
Yes.
is it that you as a man can give me that will keep me around? And that's
Right.
something to keep me connected, that
Right.
that you will be for me irreplaceable.
Right.
And that's basically the emotional connection that you get. And being emotional is not about all woo woo talking feelings, and no, it's not about it. It's not about that
Yeah.
I want you to cry, not at all. It's all about, that you create emotional safety for me to freely speak up. So that's the like biggest hack for anyone who is listening.
Say that one
If
more
you
time.
want emotional safety, it's
Right.
called. It's basically a term where, without this, if you, like we are talking now, if you didn't create environment for me to freely speak up my mind, talk about it,
Sure.
I would be hesitant. My body
Yes.
language would be, I would be very
Yes.
scared. I would probably not tell the truth. And this is exactly how it goes in your business relationships or even in
Yes.
your marriage.
Yes.
Unless you feel safe, you will not speak up, period.
Yes.
And this is exactly the root problem for many of my clients as well, when they are trying to force the conversation on their partner, on their wives. Please just tell me, I want to fix it. This is why it doesn't work. She doesn't feel safe speaking up about this. I mean, there is a problem. She doesn't want to talk about it. And the biggest problem is that if you ever try to force something onto someone, like you have to tell me, or you become demanding, well, they might open up, but it won't be, honest. It will be probably to tell you something you want to hear.
Yeah.
It will be something just to shush you out and let me go. So if you want to fix the problem, you need to know the problem, the root cause. And the only way to do it if you create a safe environment where she will talk about it.
Awesome. So let's rewind a touch to Martin's attempts over 8 months, which, to be fair, is pretty commendable. It's a long time. I mean, I know you were together for a long time before that. Actually, how long were you together before you broke
12
up?
years.
Oh, you were. I thought that was the time, right? Well, that wasn't the total time. So that's to be fair, 12 years is a very long time. So 8 months, I suppose, in that respect, is not. So how did he win you back? Like that's what I want to know.
Absolutely. To sum it up, he became the author of his own story, not a character in my own. What that means is it was until he realized he needed to change approach, an approach where instead of pushing me away, he would pull me back in, an approach where I would actually want to spend time with him. I would be the one trying to talk to him, and I would open up about the issue so we can actually figure out. It was when I was drawn to him like a magnet would, So it was the approach.
But what did it like what does that mean? Like in
Yeah.
fundamental like so, let's say I'm Martin right now, and like I've tried recreating this and that and things that I thought that you enjoyed, that maybe if I showed you those things again, you'd be like, oh, I missed those times and I need this guy back, blah blah blah, and that wasn't working. So
Yep.
what fundamentally did this guy do?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one, he backed off, literally, which is very counterintuitive.
What does that mean? He just stopped talking to you? And
No, that's the worst thing you can do.
okay.
Oh my God, no contact is the worst thing you can do.
I was gonna
No
say, like,
way.
how does that work?
No. What that means is he stopped pushing
Okay.
and trying to convince me to, he stopped pressing on me.
Right.
And as a result, he created space for me to step in. He was working on creating emotional safety back then for me. And he didn't know he was doing that.
I was going to say, yeah, he probably doesn't know what he's doing.
He didn't know. It was now looking back, you see, he was actually creating emotional safety. He figured out that telling me what to think, telling me how to feel, trying to give me all the reasons why we should be together, it will never work. Logical approach would never work. So we had to approach it emotionally. And for him, that meant that he needed to create space for me to actually see that, yeah, I can trust him. And number one thing he did is he had to show me he can handle the truth. Because you see, it's like, imagine you want to know something that you see from the point he realized that something's off in a relationship. Okay, that was point zero for him, but for me it was 3 years already in my head, trying to fix things, show him why we should be together. So before he started to work on our relationship to fix things, I was already actually having my own war in my head.
Do you think now,
what the
looking
hell?
back, that you maybe should have approached that to him 3 years previous rather than waiting 3 years?
Oh, I love that you asked this. This is exactly what every even my client thinks. They're like, oh my God, I wish you would just speak up. I wish you would just tell me this is the problem. Here is the thing. Number one, because it was such a long time, it was 3 years for me contemplating, like, I mean, where we starting.
It's a long time.
Yes, but you see, it's not like, because it's so long, it's not like it's one thing. It's so many things in your head that you are even unable to articulate. That's number one. That is, it's not like it's just, we grew apart. What does it mean? I mean, and you need to dig deep and you need to understand like each layer. And it was for me impossible to articulate. And you have to realize my headspace back then was when I decided to leave. I was like, I'm done. That's it. So I don't want to deal with it anymore. So every single time he tried to talk about it, I was just like, just leave me alone, So because I didn't know, and it was painful for me to always go back to that 3 years time, So that's why, that's why even other partners will not tell you what it is, because 99% of time, all partners in my clients, they don't know. They don't know what it is because it's so many complex things.
It's just some things off, but they don't really put the thing on what it is.
Yeah,
thing.
you see,
Okay,
so
makes
that's
sense.
the thing about, the whole emotional approach, that you're having conversations to unfold what it is until something clicks, and you're like, yeah, I mean, I want to give you another chance, which actually, it was funny. It was, when you work on emotional safety, it's so many opportunities open up. Like, for me, it was like I started to feel like, oh my God, I mean, am I gonna be good enough for him? Will he want me back? These were literally thoughts in my head.
Wow,
I was
that's
like, oh my God, I want
insane.
him, and I was literally so scared. I was like, oh my God, what if he doesn't want to be with me? So as
Wow.
a result, I was like mirroring his attempts, his all good stuff he was showing me. He became like the leader of conversations. He became a leader in a way that he was trying to create another leader, me. He was lifting me up. He was encouraging me. He was so positive. His energy was mind blowing. I was addicted. He was my dopamine. So I was just like, oh my God. So I was the one chasing him a little bit,
Wow.
and yeah, and it worked out. We're
Incredible.
still together, so, and that's the power of emotional safety. If you create it,
So
you
how
see.
does
And
he? So he didn't know what he was doing, right? He had no idea what
he
he was doing,
didn't.
but he just knew
No,
whatever I'm doing
lots
isn't
of trial and
working.
error.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not working, and I just stumbled upon this thing that worked. But like again, for someone listening, what what does someone do to provide that emotional safety? I'm sure it's not one thing, but like if you were to say like this is the road or the route to get
Yeah,
on, right? Obviously, this is what you do day
absolutely.
to day, so it's not like a simple like here you go. But what would that be? Like how does
Yes,
create the kind of blanket, as it were?
absolutely. What it is what you have to realize is emotional safety is you when you are trying to when you want someone to speak up about something that bothers them so much,
Yeah.
okay? And especially if they're unwilling, you have to realize it's not about what they say, it's about how you react to what they say.
Okay.
Because think about it. Imagine you want me to tell you something that, you are like, please just tell me so I can fix it. But the question is, can you handle it? How would you react? Imagine you are in a relationship
Yeah.
and your partner tells you, something really, really painful that has been bothering her for many years, and she tells you there is someone else, or I've been thinking about, leaving you for a while. I mean, imagine she tells you that. How do you react? Do you handle it like 14-year-old teenager that
Yeah.
just starts
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
be, oh my God, panicking, and
Yeah.
you'll be frustrated? Or are you gonna handle it like a champion, and are you gonna be like, let's talk about this? I guarantee you no one would handle it right at that
No,
point,
would
you
it?
see.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's understandable. Who wants to hear that? Oh, what do you mean you might have found someone else? I mean,
Don't
you
worry,
are
let's
my,
talk about the other guy. Don't worry
yeah,
about it.
I mean, you are my, girlfriend, fiance, wife. What do
Yeah.
you mean there's someone else?
Yeah.
So ego is your enemy, of course. But so that's the thing. The question is, can you handle the truth? And if you can't, well, then no wonder she can't tell you what it is. Because if you can't handle the truth, then in her head is like, what's the point? It's like for example, in my experience was, when I, Martin really wanted me to tell, like, what is it? Just tell me so I can fix it. That was in his head. And I was just like, okay, I'll tell you. And I told him, and he reacted poorly. And he was just like, oh my God. And his poor reaction, he was never really this
This is once you've
fiery.
spread that emotional safety net, you've gone, here's whatever. And then you're saying now he's reacting not like awfully with it.
Exactly,
So
he
he's
wasn't
basically
reacting
then
well.
that
So
safety
he
net
was
gone.
he was destroying the safety, and he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
reassuring me that my decision to leave is correct.
Yeah.
Because I
Oh
can't
wow.
even, because I can't even talk about it.
That's
Because what for
crazy.
my head was, what's the point talking? What's the point of me telling you
Yeah,
if
more
I know
proof of the
that you
fact
are
that it's just a
gonna?
waste of time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
You
smart.
see, every single leader, even in business, any leader, if you think about it,
Yeah. Yeah.
leadership, yeah, there is so many definitions, but in a nutshell, it's how can you handle yourself when situation is tough,
For sure.
period. Because that's what defines you. That's when, people follow you, love you, respect you, you know in the times of struggle. So that's the key. So that's what, for example, when I work with my clients, we work on this becoming leader, leading the conversation, but not in a way that, oh, I am something more than you. No
Yeah.
way. This is about we are partners, but this is doing it right. Because what you have to realize is that where all conflicts or where all communication goes bad is that people take it personally. It's about me versus you. And it's never. If you believe that it's a situational you are fixing, it's not that you are the problem, it's the situation we're talking about is the problem. If you believe that, you can change it. You can change, you can create, you can break off the negative feedback loop and create a positive one, because you are discussing situation of people. But what happens is every single time you have a conflict with someone, it's like, I am right, you are wrong. Or let me tell you why I shouldn't feel this way, pretty much. That's how we are wired. That's how we talk. And what we have to do is actually we have to really try to see the other person's perspective to actually understand what the hell is going on, So yeah.
So you mentioned something which is an interesting point. Well, I say it's brought a point to me when you talked about, this, if someone comes to you in a marriage relationship, whatever, and says there's another person, guy or girl, whatever. What is how do you approach it? Say I came to you and I'm married like 5 years, and like my wife comes to me and says, look, I've been seeing another guy, like, what is in your experience, like when someone is cheating, whatever you want to call it, or seeing somebody else in a relationship that's supposed to be, just the two of you effectively, what's normally the cause of that? Or is it not as simple as that? There's so many different reasons. Or is there one thing normally that leads someone to search somewhere else for whatever they're looking for?
Yes. And look, the circumstances of breakups or even affair might be different. Okay.
Yeah.
But the feelings are always the same. That's what we have to realize.
Okay.
So the most important thing you have to realize, your girlfriend, your wife, your fiance, she's not loyal to you. She's loyal to her feelings. You have to understand this concept.
Right.
So the root cause of all problems is lack of emotional safety. Period. Let me explain. Why do you think suddenly, your girlfriend or partner is suddenly thinking about, oh, I might be thinking about, or I might be having emotional affair, with, emotional affair. It's just like thinking about it, but not like really going there physically. If we reverse back that whole chain of events, you always come down to emotional safety. Because, for example, you have to realize that when that person is thinking about, I'm probably falling for someone else. This is the, effect of all the previous conversations or previous events she would have been having with, a partner. Meaning, for example, when let's rewind 5 years, okay, and already your partner would start seeing, something's off in the relationship, okay, and she would try to bring it up. But how do you react? How do you talk about it? It's okay. What do you mean there is something wrong? I thought we are fine. What are you talking about? What do you mean you want to spend more time with me? I am busy. I have my business. I need to run business. I need to provide for my family. I need to provide. We need to pay mortgage, whatever, whatever they say. So you can start seeing pattern here that every single time she would try to bring up conversations, she gets pretty much shut down. What do you mean? Don't be unreasonable. Don't be illogical, and do it multiple times. And eventually over a period of time, and she's like, well, there is a problem, but I'm stuck. And this is the dilemma. I can't tell you about it because you will just dismiss my emotions.
Right.
And if I tell you, so I can't tell you about it because you dismiss my emotions. But if I keep it to myself, it's terrible for me because I didn't resolve the conflict. It's in my head boiling up, and all additional things are just piling up, and I'm stuck. And I'm like, what can I do? There is a problem, and I don't know what to do. And it's like a catch-22. I lose if I tell you. I lose if I don't tell you. And that's usually how it starts happening, that I need to get out. When people are looking for attention of someone else, when people want to split up, they're trying to get away. They're not running towards something. They are leaving the pain. That's the most important thing. So I was leaving the pain as well. I was like, I can't be here anymore. I feel suffocating here. I can't speak up. I can't do, I cannot not tell him because it's driving me crazy. To the point where I shut down my family, my mom, who I was always so close to. I lost like so much weight. I was even depressed because I couldn't, articulate what was in my head. And I was like, you see, the thing is that for women, especially what was for me at the time when I was thinking about should I leave or should I not, we also feel this huge pressure from society. I know you shouldn't care about what people think. Yeah, that's true. But back then, there's pressure from family.
Yeah.
There is pressure from what other people will think of you. There is also, you don't want to disappoint yourself. I didn't want to disappoint Martin back then, believe or not, huge pressure on us, and yet we have to make this decision. It's not easy. It's the hardest thing, that you can do. But what you have to realize that woman can still love you even if she is gone. It's not like she leaves you and that's it, done. No, she can still love you. And that was my case as well. And that's actually the case of every single client I have that they reconcile. There, the love is not broken. It's just bent, and you can fix it.
I have two remaining questions. One is maybe a bit controversial, but I'm interested to hear your opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, first thing is actually I want to say as well, which I think is really commendable, the fact that you took something that was an issue in your own life and turned that into a business. But I would say, going back to what I said before, you then dedicate yourself to a service or serving people going through the same pain and struggle that you are. And that comes across to me that you don't do this. You would do this even if you probably weren't getting paid on the side just to help people out, right? The fact that you can get paid for it is phenomenal, but so you should.
Bonus.
Because
Yeah.
to me, if you're providing a service and adding value to people's lives, why should they not remunerate you in whatever way is possible, right? Whatever way that works. So that's how I look at people that, not always, but people that have ample resources, money, or whatever. Like,
Yes.
it should be. It's not always, but it should be, because they have added significant value to society in some way.
Absolutely. Even Joker said it. If you are good at something, don't do it for free.
Yeah, it's true. Now, that's I wanted to just point that out. My two questions. First is, and this is an interesting one. It's again another Steve Jobs kind of thing where he talks about everything around us has been created by the people. Therefore, you can create your own reality in want of a better phrase. So, marriage as a construct or a concept in itself, is there an argument to say that that is something that maybe years gone by was a institution that was required, whereas in today's world where we're more transient, whether it be, we talked before about careers, we talk now about relationships, do you still believe in the institution of marriage, or do you think it's a bit of an old concept? And actually, do we need to actually get married with these big weddings and all these different things?
Yep.
That's one part of it. And then
Yep.
second part of that question is, in your opinion, do people over time grow apart, or is that just an excuse? So that's the two parts of that question.
Yeah. Excellent question. So the first one is, this is people's personal choice, whether they want to, have big wedding or not. However, what is inevitable is for everyone, we as humans, we need and seek connection. That's number one. We do not like to be lonely. Loneliness is actually another pandemic now. Loneliness literally kills people.
100%. 100%.
So we are wired to be social. We are wired for connection. So whether I believe, people should actually get the government involved, or not, that's not the right question. The right question is, what can we do to actually have the connection we want and create the relationship we want? Because this is all in your power. I fully agree with Steve Jobs. I fully agree with Aristotle. I fully agree with Marcus Aurelius. I fully agree with all these wonderful minds that say, in a nutshell, you either run the day or the day runs you. What that means is you have the power to take control of things and change it and create what you want. You can rise and thrive. Absolutely. And this is exactly what you can do in your relationship. You are either in, there are two types of people. Like I said, either the day runs you, meaning that you just sit and wait and let things happen to you, so this is, oh my, this is just my life. I'm terrible. I'm not
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah.
All the excuses you can think of,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
my business is not doing well because of LinkedIn algorithm, all these excuses, anything like that. Or you're like, this is outside of my control. All I
Correct.
can control is my head, what's
Yeah.
between my eyes.
Yeah.
So if you take control of that, you can create whatever you want. It's like, I'll give you an example. I was working recently with a client, and we were working on this emotional safety. Okay, let me tell you the results of emotional safety. His business boomed incredibly because emotional safety gave him the confidence and right leadership skills to increase his sales ratio. He actually increased his price in business. He's in sales
Okay.
consultancy. He was able to even record like a webinar that brought him almost 30K a week.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
My
Wow.
point is, it's not just these emotions and woo woo personal development.
Yeah.
No, this opens up so many opportunities, like, for you, if you dedicate yourself, because emotional safety is about becoming the leader that you want to be, creating the things you want. It's in your control, and it's about understanding different perspectives, which help you grow as well. So yeah.
That's your first part. Your second part is, do people grow apart over time or change, as it were? And how do you deal with that?
Oh, yes, we change all the time, just like businesses. Everything changes all the time. The secret is to the key to success in business or in life is to adapt. If you don't adapt, you die. Period. It's normal, people change. I was very different when I was 18 when I'm now. I had different goals, I had different dreams. I back then I wasn't thinking about having family. Now we have a family. And with every single thing you change, different results come out of it. So of course things change, people grow, and that's how it should be. Whether you grow apart, this is going to happen in every single relationship. Why? Because we as human beings, we as business people, or we are always only trying to look at what to do to succeed. We are always driven, I want to make whatever million a year. We are never taught about things, why people fail. Failure is part of success, but we
Mhm.
never want to look at it. And it's inevitable, that you will be failing. Meaning, even in your relationship, if you stop doing the fundamental work, you will be failing. You will start growing apart. So it's like in business, you might be writing on LinkedIn posts every day, or you are trying to build your business and you expect results fast. For example, it's not going to happen. It takes time. But if you stop doing the fundamentals of what's going to get you clients, what's going to attract clients, you will definitely fail. So it's the same thing in relationship. If you stop doing the fundamentals, you are going to grow apart. And guess what? You are going to stop doing the fundamentals. That's exactly what happened in my relationship. And I see other relationships where when you hit the point, everything's good. We are solid. I trust her. Yeah, we are great. She's awesome woman. At that point, you became complacent. And it happens in business as well, which is very dangerous. I've been there. It's not a pleasant place. When you hit the place, like, everything's going okay, and one day you wake up like, what the hell happened? What's going on? Like, what happened? Well, the answer to this question is you stop doing the fundamentals in business or in a relationship, period. You don't need to overcomplicate things. You don't need to have a super complicated funnel to have the success you want in your business. It's all about simple things. Master fundamentals and you will thrive.
Very good. And my last thing is, someone watching, listening to this, whatever, that is just in that spot where they're like, I don't even know where you were during that 3 years. I don't even know what it is like. This just put a wedge between the two of us. Like, whether they're married or they or whatever the situation, what's the like apart from calling you, of course, what's the first thing or what's the one thing today they should do or things they could do to at least start down that, you call it roadmap, right? Or that strategy? What's your first thing you would say to someone?
Yes. The hardest thing that they have to do is they need to back off. Meaning, if your partner tells you, I want out, or if they tell you, we need time apart or something, stop putting pressure on your partner trying to get answers, because it's not going to happen. And if you do get answers, it's going to be half true or some lies just to get rid of you. Okay? Back off. Back off and leave the space. Back off doesn't mean that you will not talk to her. It means you will still talk to her, but you will stop trying to put pressure on her to give you the answers. Okay? So what you have to also do is backing off emotionally, meaning that you need to actually keep your things together. You need to try to stay calm when you meet your partner again. Let's say if you're split up already, or even if you're splitting up.
Yeah.
And please just stop begging. Stop, trying to prove your love. This is the worst thing you can do. Stop trying to apologizing, because she is not gonna believe you because you've done it so many times. That's what you have to realize. Well, the day your partner tells you, I want to break up, is day one for you of, oh my
Yeah.
God, I am aware of it now. But
Yeah.
she's been aware of it for years. So it's like, it's in
Such a
her
great,
head, like,
such a great point that I think I've classed myself as intelligent and most intelligent, to be honest with you. But I don't think I've ever thought about it like that before. But to be fair, in my situation, it was the other way around. It normally tends to be for whatever reason, probably an issue with me. But like, yeah, I've never thought of it like that. For you, that's the end of the road that you've spent all this time like thinking about. But for the person,
yeah.
it's most likely the first time, yeah, they've really thought about it properly.
Yes.
So
You
interesting.
see, but they and when they realize, oh my God, things are really bad, she wants to leave me, usually what men tend to do is, like, of course they panic, which is understandable, but they are trying to fix things for themselves. They are trying to win her back because he wants it,
Yes.
and they are trying to do it for themselves. And
Yes.
it's like they want her back under certain conditions,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's bad. And you know
Course.
what, guess what, we know that. We are
Yeah.
not stupid. Like, how we say, oh, I don't care what you do, I don't care. We watch you like a hawk. We watch everything you do, say, and don't do. Because guess what, we I chose to be with Martin back
Yeah.
then. I was with
Yeah.
him for
Yeah.
12 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think I just wanted to leave? Yeah, I was sick of the situation, but I secretly, subconsciously wanted him to succeed and win me back. I just didn't know it.
Mm.
I was testing him, not intentionally. It was all subconsciously. I wanted to see, are you the man you say you are? Are
Yeah.
you the man you actually have been promising me for this amount of time that you can do this? Or are you, because the biggest worry, let me tell you, the biggest turnoff, the biggest worry for us women, especially when we're about to leave a relationship, or when we don't love anymore, is that we get hurt again. Meaning that, okay, I'll give you another shot because you say you've changed, you are trying to prove me logically you are gonna be different.
Mm.
But then 2 months in, I'll try to open up and you react poorly, you shut me down again. Here I am again. How many more chances do I have to give you? So at that point, we're like, we are done. I don't believe you. So I just don't believe you. So make me believe you are the man you say you are, and make me certain, and you will have thriving relationship, period.
Amazing. Excuse me. Amazing. One of the most insightful interviews I've ever done, honestly. But it just goes to show to me, and it's a message I want to put out to people that the whole purpose of this podcast, the whole reason I started it, was because I fundamentally believe that every person has interesting things to say and insightful, whether to motivate, inspire, or just to give across a message. And I like to provide people with that platform to do so. And I literally never ever know where these conversations are going to go. Like your testament to this. You ask me, as most people do, have you got a list of questions or this you're going to ask? And I never do. I will have a look into you. I will write some notes down, like literally a couple of notes, and then I'll just like where conversations go. And for me, that natural conversation is where the real kind of gold lies. And yeah, this has been a really interesting conversation, and particularly given sometimes life happens this way, where I find myself right now, this came at a very good time because
Oh, wonderful.
yeah, this is interesting because I'm curious to hear your view on this maybe another time. But excuse me, a friend of mine mentioned to me this book by Gary Chapman. I'm sure you know it. I only just come across it, so I'm probably late to the party, right? But it's called The Five Love Languages: The Secrets of Love That Lasts, and this is the book for people that are viewing it on video, and those that aren't, you can find it on Amazon, whatever. I've read about 5-10 pages, but what I can tell you is quite interesting. It's not just as you're saying, these languages, quote unquote, take the word love out of it for a second, are relevant in every single relationship you have, whether it's work, whether it is personal, just as a friend, platonic, or romantic. And it's trying to understand that sometimes you think you're speaking the same language, but you're speaking French, they're speaking Japanese, and like that's often. I think you said something like I read in your LinkedIn, something like, is it 65% or something? Let me get the 65% of all divorces is communication,
Yeah.
and then 43 is inability to solve conflict. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the biggest thing that you've talked about across the piece is this great point about the emotional safety blanket, or whatever you want to call it. That I think is something that if more people were aware of, and I'm sure that's in your work that happens, then the world will be a much better place. Because if you can, with friends or family or colleagues or whomever, provide that emotional security and safety for people to be able to actually just open up and say what's going on, it would help with mental health crisis. It would help with the loneliness crisis. Like, it's pretty much the root of everything.
It is.
It really, really is. And it's actually so simple. And that's what's so frustrating to people like you and I that kind of get that. And then you see around the world, you're like, what? Like, most of these things can be solved just by having an honest conversation where someone's being an adult and not, as you say, reacting in some sort of way, whether intentionally or subconsciously, that's kind of like shutting that person back off, that goes, all right, I don't actually hear what you got to say. So yeah, as I say, going back to what I said, like, one of the most interesting interviews I've ever done. Really great, really, and indeed, like, come across full stop. So in a long fluted fashion, what I wanted to say was, one, thank you very much for your time, and two, for other people, is like, reach out to people through LinkedIn or different people, like, just have those conversations, because you learn from every single person. And like, if this isn't proof of that, like, just off the fly, like, just message you on LinkedIn, that's all this was. And I never know where conversation's going to go. But yeah, I just so grateful to have the conversation, really am.
Oh, thank you, Charles. I am very, very happy we talked as well. It's been really great. It's been great. I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm very happy that I was able to, be helpful in certain ways for you as well.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Bye.